Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and today I'm going to be talking about choosing colors for your scrapbook layouts. I know many of you struggle to find the right colors. You're not sure which ones to choose or which ones to combine together, and the color is really important on a layout. You have to decide the grid paper color and all the mats. It's a pretty big ordeal. But I hope after today you learn to get inspiration for your colors a bit easier. So I'm going to be giving a list of different ways to find color inspiration for your layouts. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, the first idea and the easiest one is to just draw colors from your photos. So basically you look at your photographs and you see an overall color scheme or look for an object in your photos that inspire the colors on your layout. So let's look at a few examples. All right, here is our very first layout. You can see the background this is actually a grid paper called Heatwave, and there's multiple colors, but overall it looks very orange. And then it's a pattern paper, but it's mostly a solid sort of aqua blue color, and there is white. So remember, when in doubt, you can always use neutrals like white or black. And especially since this is a complementary color scheme, the white is really helpful to tone down the orange and blue on your eyes. So for this layout, Tammy drew the colors from this sign in her photo, and as you can see, the sign has that same aqua blue and the letters are orange. So this is one example of how to pull the color from your photos, is to pick something like a sign or an object and use the colors from that. Next, we have a layout from Candy, and I will say these are not typical colors I would have combined together. There's this purple, orange, black, and lime green, but it works really well because it is more of a sports theme layout, and it also is helpful that Candy drew these colors from the photos. So in this case, there was multiple spots where the colors were drawn from. For the most part, it's from the ATV. There's that lime green and purple, and in the top photo, there's orange and black. So you can draw from multiple different colors. And again, this is basically from the same object, but when you look at the photos, the colors work really well together. And so if you feel like it's pleasing to the eye in the photos, you can try it out for the colors on your scrapbook page. So for this layout, you can see there's a lot of colors in these leaves, and I could have gone with a lot of colors, but I really wanted these leaves to stand out. So if you're finding your photographs themselves are extremely colorful on their own, what I recommend is keeping it simple with the colors on your layout. So I kept my background brown, which there is a bit of brown in the leaves, and I just chose one color, and that was purple. So you only sometimes need to pull just one color from the photos, especially if you know your page is going to look a bit busier. The second idea is to get the colors from the pattern paper you're using. So this is what I do pretty much just about every time I use pattern paper. I do use colors that are in the pattern paper. Not to say you couldn't use something else also that isn't in your pattern paper, but most of the time that's where most of the colors are drawn from. And I'm going to be showing a couple of examples, but I also want to say, even if you are not putting pattern paper on your layout, it's also fun to get color ideas from pattern paper you like. So even if you're not using it, you can always look at a pattern paper and say, hey, I like these colors together. So that is also an idea for your layouts. All right, so for this layout, there is the pattern paper with the mittens, and it's very busy. It's got a lot of colors, and it may seem overwhelming on what colors to choose from your pattern paper. So in this case, you can see most of the paper, the background, is pink. So I avoided pink because I wanted that pattern paper to stand out. So I did not use really any warm colors. And that's the other thing. If you have both warm and cool colors on your pattern paper, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, I either choose the warm colors or the cool colors. So usually pick one or the other, and also maybe don't use the background color because, hey, that fills up my layout with enough pink. I didn't need to add any more pink. So I circled the two mittens I drew the colors from. And again, these are on the cooler side because that pink gets highlighted more because it's a warm color. So one mitten is lime green, and you can see there's a few mats with the lime green. And on the right side is a blue mitten. And so the darker blue was used as the background, which was a great color because there's a lot of white snow, and so the snow could stand out on that darker color. And I also used that light teal color for the background of my snowflakes. So like I said before, this is a pretty busy pattern paper, and in a case where there's multiple objects in there, you may just want to pick one or two objects in the pattern paper to use as color inspiration. So this is a layout from Danielle, and in this case, the pattern paper is more simple. There's really only three colors. For the most part, there's kind of a darker blue, lighter blue, and a purple in there. And you can see how Danielle pretty much mimicked these colors in the Vibes dies. The border is a darker blue and she used a lighter blue and two different tones of purple. And you can see her photo mats. Two of them are dark blue and the other ones are purple. So if the colors are pretty simple in your pattern paper and there's only two or three, you can just repeat them all around your layout. And once again, if when in doubt you need another color, use a neutral. In this case, Danielle used white for the background, and I think these colors look really nice and it doesn't feel too overwhelming because of the white background. All right, the third idea is to use a color scheme that's already established. So let's say you go to a wedding, you would make your page based on the wedding colors, or you go to some place like Disney World and you think of Mickey Mouse and you put black, red, yellow, and white on your layout. So pretty much you come home and you have the photos, and if you have a hard time thinking of colors, one of the easiest things you can do is just think of the color scheme of where you were. So if you are at a restaurant or an ice cream place such as Brewster's, you can base your colors on their logo or colors you see around the restaurant. So in this case, Lauren was with her kids at Brewster's, and I actually have the cup highlighted in the top right corner here. And so she took their colors from their restaurant and their logo and put it on her layout. So super easy way to find color inspiration. So another easy color scheme is using school colors. And of course, this could apply if you're going to a little school event at an elementary school, or you're visiting campus for the first time at a university. In this case, this is for my sister's high school graduation. So I used her high school colors here. It's the black, dark green, and silver. So anytime there's any school photos, it's really easy to use colors from the school. So whenever you go somewhere, especially to a theme park, take a look and see if there is an established color scheme. In this case, I used the colors from Universal's logo. So their logo, well, it's usually like a black background because it looks like a night sky. I didn't put any black on here, but I did use the dark blue, and I used a lighter blue and gold and white. So all of these colors were completely from Universal's logo, and I think it turned out great for this page of Universal. So you can also get your color schemes from events such as a birthday party or something like a wedding. So in this case, I used the colors that were used for the decorations. You can see there's streamers that are dark blue, lime, green, and there's lighter blue and a white. And I pretty much used all those colors for this layout. So my background's a bright green color. I have a white mat. All of my X Factor dies were cut with a similar blue as what's shown in the photos. So definitely when you're at a party, I think a really easy way to get color inspiration is by looking at what's on the decorations and what's the birthday theme. So now I'm going to be getting into ideas that are less obvious than the previous three, but hopefully over time you'll be able to find this inspiration a lot quicker as you're making pages. So the next one I'm covering is use colors that are inspired by the location. So let's take a look at a few examples of this. So this layout has photos of the Star Wars section in Disney World, and I'm going to say there's a lot of different color inspiration there you could pull from for sure. But in this case, I was more inspired by the environment and the location, how it is itself. I chose this background called Persimmon. It's from the Fresh and Fruity collection. It has mostly browns and a little teeny bit of orange in there, and I really liked the distress and the rusticness of that background. It went with the environment of the Star Wars section, and I chose brown, and I also chose an off-white for the Canterbury border dies and put some chalk ink on them. So really I was drawing colors from the environment itself around the Star Wars area and wasn't looking at an established color scheme or a certain object. So that's one idea, is to base the colors off of an environment. Next, so this can be a pretty easy one if you're going outside, like I did here. I was at Bryce Canyon. Basically, all I did was just take colors that are associated with the outdoors. So in this case, you can look at Bryce Canyon and there's a lot of this red rock. And I really didn't want to use red on my layout because it would take away from the photos. But as you can see, there's these green trees and they really stand out on that red rock. So to make the red rock stand out on my layout, I used a green background. So the green is like the trees, and I use browns. Outdoors, it's a lot of browns and greens, right? So you can't really go wrong with greens and browns if you have anything outdoors. So this layout has photos of the beach. And again, this is a pretty easy one. Usually with the beach, you can go with sand colors or blues and oranges. Again, there was not really any kind of color scheme to choose from. So I used a sand background because it's sandy like the beach. And then I used like a darker brown. It kind of reminds me of when the sand is wet. So I was thinking of sand here. And then I have a little bit of orange. And that was just to give the layout a pop of color. Usually that's associated with the beach. If you think of a starfish, a lot of the times I think of an orange colored starfish, and that stood out over the blue. I didn't use much blue on this layout because the water is this very pretty blue, and the sand colors, keeping the color simple really is what makes that blue stand out. So again, the beach is pretty easy. Just think of sand and all the colors you usually see in that kind of environment. So if you're struggling to find any color inspiration for your layout, a really simple one is using the seasonal colors, or the established colors we associate with each season on your layout. And I'm including holidays in this one as well. So holiday colors, we usually know what colors are associated with each holiday. And each season, like I said, if there's nothing else, sometimes it's really hard because there is no established color scheme and the environment maybe is not that inspiring color-wise. So going with the traditional seasonal colors is a great way to go. This first layout shows springtime, and so you probably have seen that we go to Colonial Williamsburg a lot. If you have seen a lot of our pages on the pattern gallery or in our newsletter, wherever you see them, you probably have noticed that we go to Colonial Williamsburg a lot. And I have to make a lot of pages with Colonial Williamsburg, and I'm going to tell you, after a while, it gets harder and harder to find any color inspiration. But for this layout, I just decided to go with the colors of spring. So there's a nice springy yellow for the background, and then I just chose for all the mats, it's just this nice green color. And so that is an easy way to go. You don't even have to pick a lot of colors, just pick two colors associated with that particular season. So that's how I figured out the colors for this particular layout. So most holidays, there's generally an established color scheme. Like we all know Christmas is red, white, and green. I'm not sure if Thanksgiving has a particular color scheme other than just fall colors. So that's what I went with for this layout is I just used fall color. So I have this darker eggplant kind of purple for the background, and then I used a brown for most of the mats. In the middle, I have the turkey cornerstone, which is a dark brown. So really, I kept it simple and went with browns and this really nice purple, which are all pretty much fall colors. So Danielle created this layout of her and her daughter at an ice skating rink up in New York City. And and she went and there was really no colors to draw from. There's no established color scheme. There's nothing that interesting to pull from. So she just went with winter colors. So anytime like I said, with something like this, and you may have a hard time finding the right colors, and you almost can never go wrong with just going with the seasonal colors. In this case, Danielle just chose your typical blue, gray, and white winter colors, and it works really well for her layout. All right, this next tip is to look at the mood of your photos. So, are you at a fun place and the mood is fun and bright? Like, do you need a bright color scheme, or is it calm? Is it chill? Do you need to go with the softer colors or pastels? Take a look at how your photos make you feel and what the mood is in them, and then portray that through the colors. So the photos in this layout were taken on an overcast day. Now, I did not really want to go with a bunch of dark colors because I didn't want to portray my photos as a dark and dreary feel. So that's something to keep in mind is how do you not want it to feel? So I didn't want it to feel that way. But I like having all these greens because it gives the layout a calming feel to it. And that's what I like, and that's the mood I wanted. I feel like sometimes overcast days, you feel like you want to be inside and it feels really relaxing. So that's kind of the feel, the mood I have for this layout. It's kind of a nice, relaxing, calming day. So on this layout, it has lots of fun and bright colors. Tammy is the one who designed this layout of photos of a rafting trip, and it's really fun and adventurous to go rafting. So I totally get why she used bright colors. She has a brighter blue background and a lime green, and that orange really stands out. You can also see she probably based the colors on her son's clothing right there. So it's kind of going back to the point of taking colors that are drawn from the photos as well. But overall, this has a fun feel to it. So if you're going to a fun destination or a fun place, use brighter colors that portray that funness. So for this layout, these photos were taken in a mountain area, and there's kind of obviously when you look at the photos, there is a calm feel. So that's kind of what the colors on this layout portray is a calmness, but at the same time I put in this sort of brighter green, not a ton of it, but enough of it to portray fun and adventure. You kind of have that calmness mixed with a little bit of an adventurous feel. So just play around, and this is expressing a mood on your layout. It's probably a little bit more advanced than the other tips, but I still think it's one to try out. Like when you look at your layout, look at the mood you see in your photos and portray that mood through your colors. So I think that's a fun assignment for you, and I want you to try that out after watching this video. The next idea is to draw colors based on the theme in your photos. And there's a lot of different themes, but I think to understand this one, I'm going to show you the example. So let's go to the first layout. So for this layout, the theme is basically elementary school and young child. So earlier I brought up school and how you can use the school colors, but I also think for school, especially if you're going to make multiple school-related pages, think about the age of the person and the grade they're in at school. So in this case, my sister was in kindergarten, and I'm probably not going to use more mature colors for a kindergartner. Instead, I use the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Red, blue, and yellow are great colors for younger children, especially if they're in preschool or kindergarten. I do have that bright green in there because it was a fun pattern paper I had that went along with the theme. And there's also this fun corkboard paper that went with the school theme as well. So that's why the brown's in there. It also makes a nice neutral that tones down those really bright colors that are in this layout. But that is what I mean by theme. Think of the overall theme of your layout. In this case, is a kindergartner. And what colors do you associate with someone in a specific age group? So the theme of your colors could be based on a character or a movie. So in this case, these photos were taken at the this is going to sound funny. If you've never been to Disney World, they have a bathroom section that's based on Tangled. But at night, they have this nice photo opportunity where you can hold one of the lanterns, and it's really cute. So for this layout, I was inspired by Rapunzel herself and her dress. So you can see there's kind of this golden yellow color, and there's a lot of purple because if you've seen the movie Tangled, she wears a purple dress. So that's where I got the colors from, was the theme of the movie Tangled and the character Rapunzel. So for this next one, this was a layout of a ship. And when you think of a ship, everything's just kind of gray, right? So it would kind of be boring to base it specifically on the ship potentially. So I thought about nautical colors, and I also thought about the theme of the ship, and that's how I came up with these colors. So the background is a color called Red Tides from Nantucket collection. And when you look at that red, don't you think of ocean, like not really ocean, but like a ship theme? And of course, the rest of the colors are just black and gray to keep it simple with the ship theme here. So that's kind of the colors I went with, was nautical and ship. So this is my last tip of this video, but my last idea is to choose colors based on the personality of someone. So this is a great tip for if you're making a page about a particular person. So you may want to consider feminine or masculine colors, and you also want to consider the age of the person as well. So let's look at a few examples. So what you want to consider is, do you want to make a more feminine colored layout or a masculine colored layout? In this case, this is of my sister when she was turning 6, and she loved pink at the time. So pink is really, this color was chosen because that was her personality. She was really into pink. She was really into girly things. You can see there's this flower paper. So that's something else to consider, is what is the personality? Like, I personally was not very girly, and I don't think I would have appreciated pink on my layouts, at least when I was younger. So think about the colors that person likes as well. So this layout is not about one particular person, but something to consider is the age of the person or the people in your photos. In this case, it is children. And like I brought up with the previous theming section of the video, kids, anything that's really bright colors works really good with kids. So usually babies you associate with pastel, but usually when kids are young children anyway, bright colors work really well with them. And then as they get older, you want to make sure you use muted colors more. So really, these colors here were chosen based on the age of the kids and the photos. So here's an example of photos of a teenager. And so I would not have used the same colors as my previous page necessarily anyway. Uh, the previous page was very appropriate for kids. As kids get older and become teenagers, they may not really appreciate the bright colored stuff as much as before. So this layout has more muted tones and it's still very feminine. It doesn't have pink, so you don't always have to go with the traditional pink or blue for a boy or a girl. In this case, it's green with purple, and I think it looks very nice and it goes along with her personality. So this layout has a mix of things. There is masculine colors. As you can see, it's a teenage boy in the middle. And it's also based on the outdoors as well. So you want to consider the environment, but also to add on even more, you can think of the personality. So if this layout was of me and I was in the middle, the colors probably would look a little bit different. I wouldn't have necessarily chosen a dark blue with greens. If it was a picture of me in the middle, I probably would have chosen different outdoor kind of colors that matched my personality. But I think here Tammy was going for a more masculine look. So she has that dark blue background with the green, and it looks really good. Alright, we have reached the end of today's video. I hope you guys learned a lot about getting color inspiration. From this video, you probably saw there are many ways you can get inspiration for color. It's all around us, and you just have to look at your photos or the environment or the personality. There's a lot of different ways to get the photos. And so if color's not coming to you very easily, you can always refer back to this video to remember that inspiration. All right, let me know if you have any questions about color in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to see more of our videos coming in the future. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.